Your boys are back. Welcome to In Rotation Podcast. Your boys are back. Welcome back to In Rotation Podcast, Playlist Edition, Episode 4. Your boys are back again. We got, for In Rotation Podcast, we got Jay, Jer, and Nick, and of course, I'm your host, B. What's up, guys?
What's up?
What's up?
So today we're reviewing a remix of Travis Scott's Franchise featuring Future, Young Thug, and kind of M.I.A. So this is a historic track in the sense that first time that Thugger, Future, and Trav have all been on the same track. So what do you guys think? We'll go to first takes. Jer, what did you think, man?
I thought it was hype. Like Travis says in the chorus. He's telling me to go to Hype Williams for that hype, but I think we can go straight to him because, yeah, this is a good track.
Jay?
I agree. I liked it. Getting used to Travis Scott. For some reason, I'm resistant to listening to him. But he definitely has his own sound. The beats are like hype, like Jared said, but also like hard and like dark almost. And I love the M.I.A feature. It was minimal, but like she did her thing. Future, I love Future. So I was a big fan.
And Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. It was, you guys kind of touched on some of the stuff. It's got kind of that classic Travis Scott beat that's, very kind of full. It's very modern, pretty hype beat, got a lot of stuff going on there. Everything he does is always kind of like a big production, so you definitely kind of had that in the beat. The kind of group of features was cool. I listened to the original a little bit too, like M.I.A. Obviously, she does a lot more in the original. Still not like a ton, but I think she basically does nothing in this one, really. But yeah, it was good. It was a fun hype song. You know what I mean? I don't think you come to like Travis and Future and Thug for like a lot of like good content, in the lyrics. So they didn't disappoint there in a lack of content, but yeah, overall
Because your expectations were already low,
right? Yeah, I'd say, yeah. So yeah, but overall, it was a good track. It was fun.
Yeah, like you said, the original, obviously M.I.A had a way bigger part and probably like the biggest difference in sound. So interesting that they really like cut her out for like almost the whole thing. But I felt like the Travis Scott verse was super short. It wasn't really even that exciting for him. And then even for like Young Thug, like this was a kind of not typical Thug. There was nothing like innovative about what his sound. It was just like very like, I think he like made it for the radio and that was it. So, I mean, what did you guys kind of think about overall? You said the content wasn't great, but do you think that this really hit home for what it was trying to do? And I'll start with Nick.
I mean, I think that you made a good point that, especially with Thug, right? Like he wasn't his kind of usual crazy, over the top, innovative self. There wasn't anything unique or crazy. He kind of really fell in line, kind of with Future and Travis on this one, which. I think Travis, for the most part, he kind of cranks out like radio bangers. I could easily hear this or the original being played on the radio, maybe at clubs or whatever. But so I think for that, if you're just trying to package a nice like mainstream radio product, I would say that, is a success. But as far as if you're delivering something that for like hip hop heads or like, fans of lyrics and stuff like that, no, but again, that's not really what you go to Travis and like Future for. You go to them for like vibe and sound, which I think in that sense they delivered.
Jay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I disagree with that. It's like they know that's their lane almost. It's like they have a sound that just resonates, and they either kind of they just go with it organically or they intentionally like try to let this breathe, because it did seem like they all held back, each and every artist on it. And I haven't listened to the original with M.I.A, but it sounded like they all were kind of let the music and let the beat set the scene. And then like every once in a while, like, because the M.I.A, even though it was so small, it did affect, like, I'm like, okay, this is dope. This is like a nice little, a tiny little pivot in the song that was cool. And with every artist, I kind of felt that. Even each one had their own unique contribution, but it was all like a small contribution to this overall setting that they're creating. And it works. I mean, it works in that sense. But yeah, like Nick said, like I mean, hip hop has a hip hop head is not going to necessarily give it as much credit, maybe, but that's okay because they are what they are, you know.
And I, obviously this song is maybe not for like straight people who are coming to this for lyrics, right? You're not going to listen to a Trav or a Thug song or a Future song for the lyrics, but I think what you do expect is that swagger, that style. And I thought that Future was the highlight of this track. Very interesting that he had like by far the longest verse, and they actually had to drop part of like Trav and Thug's verse to fit him in. But it for their first time all on one track, this was a disappointment to me because it just there. I felt like it lacked energy. Like what you want from Travis is like super hype. His verse was kind of weak. This hook is like four bars. It's super boring. So I think for me that was really lacking, and it's definitely atmospheric. The beat is atmospheric, but there's also not a lot going on there too. I just felt like it was just kind of missing that extra element that you'd think that one of these three dudes would bring to a track. You know what I mean?
For sure, I completely agree with you. Like you expect these guys to bring a lot of swagger, and Future definitely did here. It's kind of like to Nick's point, like the content isn't very moving, but like it goes hard, kind of like what Jay was saying. So if you're looking for like a hard track, maybe to get you pumped up, I mean the beat definitely hypes you up, for sure. And then you've got like your classic like swagger that you would normally hear from these guys over it. So I mean, like overall, it's like it does the job that it comes to do, but isn't by any stretch maybe like as groundbreaking as like Brandon might want it to be because of the nature of what we're of this collaboration.
And that's fair. That's fair. My favorite part of the song was the start of Young Thug's verse, where he says, "Yeah, call the Sprite people." Like he, like specifically who? Like you just got like Sprite's headquarters like dialed in. You got like your activists ready, but you ran out of Sprite, and you need them like meet you at the airport and like drop you some like 2 liters of Sprite. Like there's just like the most ridiculous lyric, and that's how it starts his verse, and it just like had me like rolling, just picturing the situation that he would be in, that he would literally call the Sprite people up to try and get hooked up with something.
Is that kind of like that's like probably like a syrup reference, right? Like he's mixing with the, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Future also talks about being on codeine.
Of course, because he's always talking about his like addictions to drugs.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's funny that they still talk about that so heavily.
Well, it's because he's still like heavily addicted to it.
I know. It's like, oh shit, you're still actually doing
Yeah.
like, shit.
When I heard that, like it's like it seems like not PC to me. Like so, I always kind of like that, unless they go too far with it. And I always kind of like if they're like completely unaware of the landscape like of the opioid crisis and things like that. Like I don't give a shit about that. I'm making a dope song right now. So I kind of like it should make me feel like, because since I'm old head now, like I don't like it, but sometimes I appreciate it when they could still just do it. They can still say whatever they want without giving a fuck.
I feel that, dude. It's like on one side of the coin, you're like, shit, dude, like, no, don't encourage this behavior. Like, fuck, man, this is a real like problem that like is affecting people like in a real way. But that, and at the same time, it's like it's music, it's rap music, you know, it's like, it's almost like what you sign up for going into it.
Right.
Speaking of not PC, some of these slime references, like I don't think I have it right in front of me, dude, but there was definitely some swapping hose out. We just slimed the bitch out. Like, fuck, man. Like, Nick's face really says it all. Like, yikes. Oh man, but you know, it's like I said, it's what you sign up for. You know, these
No
guys are,
wholesomeness here.
yeah, like what Jay said, these guys just do not give a fuck, man. They're just on their own plane.
So from what I understand, Future actually isn't as like addicted and doing all these drugs that he says he's doing. That's just kind of like his like emo, sad boy, drug boy rap shit. But at the same time, you guys make a really good point. It's still, whether you're doing the drugs or not, you're promoting a lifestyle. And, you know, I mean, look what happened to Juice World, right? Like, shit's fucking real. You do too much, you're out of control, and doesn't matter how famous you are or how hard you are, shit can get fucking real. So,
R.I.P.
yeah, R.I.P. for
R.I.P.
sure.
Yep. Also, Mac Miller. I don't know if it's.
Yeah,
I mean, that
man.
was different. I think he had something in his. He died because something, it was laced with something that he was
Yeah.
unaware of.
But
But
that's
still,
a
it's in the
risk that
same
happens.
umbrella.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
I think one of my standout lyrics was the Google reference, but I think that was Travis. You're gonna need more than Google just to find me. It's not necessarily that clever. I don't know, but for some reason, like when you're like jamming out listening to the song, you're like, oh shit, like what, like what could you possibly like? What could possibly do a better job of finding you than Google?
Serious, dude.
You know, and that's kind of why the lyric almost kind of hits.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Yeah,
guys?
Go ahead,
Oh,
B.
go ahead. I was gonna say, have you guys seen any of the Future "She Belongs to the Street" memes?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, they're so good. It's like this preacher Future, like he's on the pew, and like, you know, the first line of the meme is like, "If your girl does this," and then the punchline is, "She belonged to the streets." So like this is the first time he actually like drops that bar on a track.
Oh,
and
word.
and so like he's becoming self-aware.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
saw
to
that
say.
there was some sort of like some sort of a thing from social media that was about him or whatever. That it's funny that he's referencing it now. There was another. Speaking of like tech references, you got the line from Thug where he says, "I'm higher than the plane. I'm where the Skypes be." Which, looking into it on like Genius, is like because Skype used to have like clouds like in like their thing, but that's not even part of their logo anymore. So I was like, I thought that's a pretty deep reference there to be going like referencing an old expired version of a logo to get the clouds, but then he follows it up with like some sort of like doot 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 that apparently he does in the same sound of like the Skype ringtone. So like when you're getting a call from Skype, that's actually what he like does. So it's like this like weird deep Skype cut.
Also, the idea of like imagining Young Thug like Skyping people is also hilarious to me. Like it's very like subtle stuff, but like if you just imagine like him Skyping the Sprite people, right? Like, yo, we got to get some fucking Sprite up in this bitch.
Yeah, it's weird
Got a
that
lot of scissor and not enough Sprite.
yeah. It's weird to pick Skype too. I mean, I guess before Zoom, Skype was kind of like, I guess, the known like video call kind of thing, but I don't know. I haven't heard people talk about Skype in like a long time.
Skype really did have a 14-year head start and let Zoom take over in 3 months.
They fucked up for sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
they blew that like the 28-3 Falcons lead, man.
Oh damn. Is that a recent sports reference?
Yeah, it's this famous
Oh, yeah.
Super Bowl from like
Oh,
two,
shit.
3 years ago.
Yeah, and they just blew one today too, as well.
They've blown a bunch of leads this year.
Yeah,
We're gonna need to fact check that, Nick.
Oh, dude,
put in some
28,
liner
28
notes.
to
today's
3.
October 25th.
28-3 is like that's a big meme, man. That's the bar for like blowing a lead now. Like even outside of sports now. That's what it's, you know.
Yep. And that was a couple years ago, and like since then they've suffered losses very similar to that. But that was the worst one. It was like the Super Bowl, and now they're losing like regular season games in the fourth quarter
Yeah,
up until today.
so that's what Skype did.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you guys a question. So obviously, Future and Travis don't need any exposure, but Young Thug, I as a fan, as a big fan, I always kind of wonder, like, in the modern times, as of right now, like, where does he kind of sit on your radar? Obviously, we've reviewed a Young Thug album, but to like the average listener, do you guys think Young Thug is, I don't want to say a household name, but do you think people actually know who he is now, outside of just being really deep into hip hop?
Who wants to take that first, man? I have an answer.
I would say I think it depends. I mean, you kind of followed it up with that caveat at the end of despite being really deep into hip hop, but I think for someone who doesn't like listen to hip hop at all, like they probably still know who Travis Scott and Future are. For someone who's casual, they definitely do. Probably don't know Young Thug. If you're like one of those people that you're constantly listening like hip hop radio, like that's like your radio station of choice, then you maybe are more likely. But also because of his kind of style, he doesn't get a lot of mainstream play because he's not super like radio friendly. People don't want to hear the weird noises and stuff like that he makes like on the radio. So I think anybody who's not always got their dial set on like a hip hop radio station probably still doesn't really know who he is.
I think
Agree.
definitely too, like rapping with these guys, it's going to give them more exposure um, to that mainstream. But yeah, I agree with Nick.
Same, because I hear him. I agree. He's not. I don't think he's like outside of the hip hop. Like only hip hop. I think he's on that. I think in the hip hop world, most people know him. And like for me, example, I consider myself like a hip hop head, and I listen to a ton of hip hop, and I still don't really like find myself going out of my way to find Young Thug, even though we reviewed that album, and I think I gave it a good review. But to this day, I see his name featured on like artists that I do like on tons of albums. So that tells me that like he's respected in the game among rappers, but definitely only within the hip hop world. He's not mainstream yet for sure. I don't think. I don't think
And
he's like a household name.
I agree with you. And I think you said it really well, Jay. He does get featured a lot. And I was like looking at an article the other day, and obviously he hasn't put out a project this year. I can't even necessarily remember what year his last project was, probably last year. But he's done a ton of features and he is featured a lot. He's on that new TI album. Like, you see his name pop up all over the place. So I think you're right. I think that he's well respected by musicians and fans of the genre, but on his own, he hasn't had that like big hit, which is interesting because I think he's inspired and influenced a lot of rappers. You look at like Gunna, people like that. Like, he obviously has
Hmm.
had an effect on hip hop, but he's gotten nothing out of it himself in a big way.
I think
Yeah.
that if he continues to do more stuff like this, though, where he dials back his kind of over the topness a little bit, he's going to start to find himself getting a little bit more radio play. Not to say like that he should, I would never advocate for someone like changing who they are, changing their style in order to get like mainstream play. But if you team up with big names like Trav and Future and kind of tone it down a little bit so that you're not almost like canceling it out of being a mainstream kind of sound to it, he's gonna start to continue to crop up. I mean, if you shoot enough shots, you're gonna make some. You know what I mean? And if he
Hmm.
keeps being featured with big names, sometimes if he can maybe do a little bit of his kind of crazy style, and that might get people kind of interested in him too. But I think for a lot of people too, if they really hear like who he like really is, they probably won't like his stuff. You know what I mean? It's like if you only do like to listen to like radio hip hop and stuff like that, Thug might be a turnoff because he's just, he's very over the top. He's got a lot of unique sounds and styles, and he's got kind of a weird voice. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people who don't want anything that kind of, deviates from the mainstream won't be into it, you know. But people might still appreciate him being a little bit weird in like a song like this.
Yeah, I think he fell in line really well with like the other two rappers on the track. Um, I was gonna say 2 or 3. I don't know if we can really like consider M.I.A part of this track. No, but no, she did her thing. But yeah, he fell in line really well and like fit in really good with the vibe of the song. And like Nick is saying, like if I hear more of that from Thug, I'm more inclined to like listen to more of his music. Like that album that we reviewed. Was definitely like a little off the wall and definitely has some unique sounds. And like Nick said, I'm all for artists experimenting with their sound, trying new things, doing really what they really care about. But that's not what I'm going for when I listen to hip hop. So
Fair enough. And I think, we talked a lot about recently about the evolution of artists, right? And I think that Thug kind of did pioneer that, like, trying new things with your voice type of things, And so now that's not that is mainstream now, right? Like a lot of artists are doing that. So how do you evolve when you kind of were innovative before, but now everything's kind of caught up to where you were? And I think that's what will be interesting for me as a fan to see what is his next album going to be like when he's in complete control. So I think that's super interesting. So speaking of M.I.A, did any of you guys listen to the original to hear like her actual part?
Yeah, yeah, a couple times. I think I might have heard the original before I heard the remix. I can't remember, but yeah, she's cool. I haven't heard much from her in like since like what is that
Paper
that
Planes.
one yeah, Paper Planes, yeah, like the
Yeah.
one song, you know. I didn't even realize that she was still like in the game,
Hmm.
but she was chill. She added like a cool vibe to it, you know what I mean? Like I wish she hadn't gotten cut because someone said earlier too that, she changed up the sound a little bit. She was one of the only ones who had a different sound from these guys, and it would have been a nice way to kind of break the song up a little bit because she's cool. She does her thing. Like she's got dope style, like pretty fun flow. So it's a little bit of a bummer that she kind of lost her part because she had almost like a full verse on the original.
Yeah, because I didn't listen to the original maybe once, and I don't think I've even heard the M.I.A original verse, but I love M.I.A, like you said, back when she had Paper Planes and she was on a song with like Kanye and Jay-Z back in the day. But that was when she was on the radar, and then on this one, I think the only part that sticks out to me, I didn't take notes really on M.I.A, but I think I just remember saying incredible, and I'm like, okay, you just say that word and you say it in just a way that like clicks, it clicks and gives me like a transition, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, you have an impact, and you're saying 2 words. I mean, I'm sure I don't even know if she says more on this version because I guess I'm not really. She just has a very small part, and if she says more, I didn't notice it. But she says incredible or something in general or something like that. I'm like, that's that little part right there is dope, and I have a lot of respect for that. But I think I don't know if it was her choice or whoever's choice it is to on the remix to who's going to be chopped out to make this song overall better. To put in Future. Um, I do wish that they cut out someone like they kept M.I.A as a bigger feature, but um, for the song, I still like the song overall. So the balance out was good. I just wish they balanced it out with someone else, maybe Young Thug or even Travis, dude. But yeah.
yeah, I think that is like the extent of her
Mhm.
part.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
just like
this is
incredible.
that 1 or 2 words, and yeah, it has
Yeah,
a cool like little glitchy effect. Um,
right.
that makes it sound cool. Um, and I'm with Jay. Like I got excited when she came on and I heard her voice. Like I was like, oh, cool, man, this is cool. Like a little female flavor to this track. That's awesome. I think we get even more of that same feeling with the original track. Where she has that bigger part. Um, the first thing I did for my homework was just put the song up on YouTube. That's what I like to do, like with the singles that we do. And it's really cool. It's just like she has a big part in the music video. Like she's like dressed up in this really like funky like flower outfit, like dancing around, vibing, and like she's a big contribution to like the feel of like the song and video.
Nice.
Yeah, so like to have her kind of cut out was a little disappointing. But you know, Future's I think a way big, kind of like what Jay said. We haven't heard from M.I.A. Future's a way bigger name right now, and you know, it's probably a strategic move to get more exposure for the song. But yeah, M.I.A. super cool, like English accent and everything, like cool vibe. Like I don't know, just yeah,
It
she's
almost
cool.
seems like Future like took over the track. Like he starts the track, it's super long. Like Travis and Thug don't have anywhere near like the airtime, if you want to say that. And obviously MIA has barely any airtime. So I don't know, it's just an interesting decision for a remix to basically give the song away to Future.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of we did Jack Harlow not that long ago, and there was the remix that came out of What's Poppin',
Hmm.
and they dropped some big names on the track, and like I love that song, and so then when it came out with the remix and I saw the names, I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. And I was like, I preferred the original. Like I didn't feel like it's like Wheezy was on it, and I feel like they just didn't. And I forget who the other ones they added were, but they didn't add that much to like the remix, but took away from some of the dope verses that Jack Harlow had on the original. And I feel like they might have done something here with just a little bit too, because you didn't have to cut all of MIA's part. Like, especially in the original, she had two like kind of segments where she had like a few lines, and one of them was longer. Like you could have cut the longer one and kept the shorter one or something like that, without having Future have so much airplay. So I feel like there's ways to do it, and then because part of why I was stoked on this single was you see those names, right? You've got Travis and Future and Thug, and you're like, oh shit, and MIA's on this track. Like this is gonna be crazy. This is gonna be dope. Then you listen to it and you're like, wait, what? They left that line in there, that word from her, basically what, so they could leave her name on it, for like the name recognition and make the track sound like it was featuring so many big names. But it's kind of a little bit of a disservice to her and a little bit of a disservice to the song, I feel like.
I just hope she got paid still, Like hopefully her name's featured so she gets like the royalties or whatever.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I have a question. So sometimes when there's a song, even if it's not a remix, and usually in hip hop, if there's like tons of big names on it, and then they have like a hook, then one big name, a hook, then one big name, and a hook, then one big name. I don't generally like the songs in themselves. If I didn't know any of the artists and I'm just listening to the song, I'm like, okay, this is kind of repetitive because it's just a hook song, hook verse, hook verse, hook verse. But if they cut, like if they're able to balance it out to make the song better, like so it's not so repetitive, that's kind of what I feel like they're doing on this. But I just think they just chose the wrong person to take out. Like they should have just kept MIA in more, because I think that's what more people are kind of hoping for. But I do appreciate the fact that, and I don't know if they even did this because of this, but I appreciate the fact that they balanced out the song, so it's just not like super long and like a 5 minute. I don't even know how long it is, but it's not like super long song, just so everyone can get their vocal on or their vocal in. But I think that there is always, whatever song, there's always a balance to it that they have to stay true to. And if they're just getting everybody's feature on, and then it makes the song drag a little bit, I kind of appreciate that they did it. I just think they chose the wrong person to balance it out with. So,
So you said
whatever.
you had a question there, but what was the
Oh, maybe I
question?
didn't have a question. Do you guys ever notice that? Is my question. That's my question. Do you ever notice like maybe a song? Do you ever notice that in hip
I
hop? Or
I actually have a question for you, Jay.
We're gonna turn this around.
flip it on me, dude?
Okay, do you think like that it was repetitive and like too structured? Like you're sort of, do you think that this song in particular was too structured with like verse chorus, or do you think that they like kind of added enough like elements to kind of make it, to keep it interesting throughout the whole song?
No, I think that this one was not boring. I don't think it was. I think they did a good job to balance this version that we're reviewing now, this remix. But I think it could have been served better, and it could have been more interesting if they kept M.I.a on as more of the portion. Give her more of a percentage of the song. Don't give her like 5% of the song. Give her 20% of the song. And
No argument here, man.
you know what I mean? So that's what I'm. That's kind of what I'm saying. Sometimes I think they just have to give. They yeah. Sometimes they give everybody their percentage because this is the deal we're making. We're all going to be on the song. We're all going to get the exposure. But then the purity of the song diminishes because it's just too long and it's just too repetitive unless one of the artists makes a change or somebody does something good in their cadence or whatever. But a lot of the times in hip hop, I think that they add people on it as a remix, and it's just like the song is not as good because you're just really there for the personality of, you just want to see the new person on the song, like Lil Wayne on the Jack Harlow song, but the song isn't as good because it loses the purity of it. You're just splitting up portions of the pie for all these artists. But I think that when you're making a song, you have to stay true to the balance of the song. And if it's not meant to be that long, then it's not meant to be that long. So someone's got to sacrifice, and in this case, it's M.I.a. And that hurt me inside.
That's actually a good point too. It's like which version is better? Like,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I think
Like,
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be able to answer because I didn't do my
I think you make a good point about the purity of the song. You know, when they do these remixes, when you have a hot song or even like an okay song, and you're trying to make it better by just adding other people, like you're just kind of throwing shit into the mix and hoping that it ends up good. But like a true like posse cut, like if you came to the song with the idea like, all right, we're going to have 3 or 4 people on this track or whatever, everyone's going to have their part, it can end up being really good because that's what you intended, and you kind of wanted to have that different energy kind of getting mixed in from everybody who does a different verse, but that's not kind of what happened here. So like if you remember, I don't know if you listen to like the J. Cole album, like the Dreamers album that he kind of put out recently, like the Wells Fargo track, that's a perfect posse cut because everyone gets in on the verse, everyone has fun, the chorus is super short. It doesn't really need to be long. It's just kind of like a transition for the next person to kind of jump on the track and have fun. But this is not really what happened here. You know, you brought in Future to just kind of reinvent the entire song with taking over like half the song essentially. And I think that's kind of what, from hearing you say that, makes a lot of sense to me now.
Right.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the original and then how it ends up on whether or not like you have that, you know, concept of like redundancy. Like I think of one of my favorite like songs really ever that then had a remix that was better is the Forever song with Drake featuring like Kanye, Lil Wayne, and Eminem. Got to get that Eminem reference in there. And like that song I think would maybe fit into like the vein of what you're saying, where it's literally just like verse after verse after verse, and it turns into like a 6 minute long song. But for me, I love it on that song because everybody has some of like the dopest verses, like, you know, from not maybe not of like their whole like library, but some like, especially at the time, they were some of the dopest verses that were out there, like on the radio. Like I remember when that used to come on the radio, I would always crank it, like it's so stoked. It's got that little tiny hook that kind of separates each verse, but and the verses are all, you know, they're the people bringing their own style, and you know they're just they're separated by the hook, and they're just doing like they're just killing it, and they don't sound similar at all. But the structure of it, I could see that being kind of considered redundant. But I think because the verses were so strong and the talent was so good from those people, that I didn't get that vibe from it, you know, which I think in other situations maybe you could if you're just tacking on another verse, another name, you know, and not spicing up the structure. I think something that they did on this song that I don't know, I guess I could go either way on whether or not it was successful, is they did kind of rearrange. It's a different arrangement of the song than what the original is. And so that maybe gets rid of some of that kind of redundancy that you might experience adding someone on. But the way that they did it, again, was, you know, by sacrificing M.I.a. and just shoving Future kind of up at the front.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I think we said quite a bit about the song, so I think we can maybe go ahead and wrap it up. Are you guys going to keep this on your playlist? And I'll start with Jay.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because, well, last week or last podcast, Nick brought up some interesting like thoughts that I had to really consider. Because am I really gonna? I like this song, but am I really, really, really gonna keep this on a playlist? Am I really gonna have this? Does it make any of my playlists? Like, am I gonna work out to this? Am I gonna drink to this? Am I gonna listen to this while I'm working? Like those are the only 3 times I ever listen to music though. no, no, but for this one specifically, it's a tough call for me because I could see it making my workout list, and I could see it making like a hype drink list, but I'm not. I don't think I'm gonna keep it on. I don't think I'm gonna keep it on any of my playlists because it's not. If I'm gonna do a Travis Scott, I'm gonna do something that doesn't just hit the bar of being good. I want something to be a little unique or to the next level. Even though it has M.I.A, even though it has Future, even though it has Young Thug, this one is not going to make my. It's not going to make my playlist.
More than fair. Jer?
I think I'll definitely throw this on the b-ball playlist. If we ever start playing basketball again. Yeah, it would go on that just because it's a hype rap song, you know. It's something that like I can kind of vibe to like in the background. When I'm like really paying attention to the song, like I don't necessarily like vibe or sort of relate to um like this specific type of rap music sometimes, right? With like the coding references and shit. But yeah, I mean, like at the same time, like when I'm feeling hyphy, like yeah, like it's a cool song to have in the background or like to party to, whatever. But yeah, I'm not doing a lot of that these days, you know. so so I don't think I'm gonna have this on my playlist. That being said, I really did enjoy the original version. I'm gonna say that I enjoyed it more, and that's just a random note that I'm gonna throw in there.
So real quick, would you put the original on your playlist?
For the sake of this discussion, yes.
So no.
No. No, I would.
Okay.
I would.
Nick?
Yeah, so you guys make some interesting points about it. It's a fun enough song. If it came on the radio, I'd be like, okay, this is cool. If it came on at like a party or something, I'd be like, this is a cool song. I think this is also a song that if I don't put it on a playlist, I will completely forget about. I will never like remember this song, and it's not like one of those that if it comes on at the club or at a party, where I'd be like, oh shit, I forgot about this song. Like, there's some songs that you maybe don't have on your playlist, but then you haven't heard it for 5 years, and when you hear it, you go, "Oh my god, I forgot! This song's dope!" Like now, I gotta go put this on a playlist. And I think if I didn't hear the song for 3 or 4 years and it came on, I wouldn't even like think twice about it. You know what I mean? So, I was debating about would I actually put it on, like kind of my big playlist that's just a bunch of random music, just to hear it every once in a while. And I still don't think so. I'm kind of with Jer a little bit too. That honestly, I think I prefer the original version just because I really do like M.I.A. I like her vibe and her style that she kind of brings to it. I think with Travis and Thug, like they didn't. Future doesn't bring stuff to the table that they weren't already bringing in like the original version. You know what I mean? So, but M.I.A. really did. So I would say overall, probably no. It's not going to go on any playlist.
I think you're right. I think it's a very forgettable song, honestly. And Jared, if you ever text me and tell me to put this on the ball playlist, bro, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't get that text because it's not going on my playlist.
Fair.
Damn, dude.
It's just not. It's not for me. It's not a hype song. It should have been. But it just wasn't. The beat just kind of is super repetitive. It sounds like it's just one loop to me, despite being like a good loop. It just not doesn't go anywhere. And I think that's my issue with the song. It just doesn't go anywhere, even with the remix. So I hope next time that these three get together, it'll be better and something more that like fans are expecting, or at least that I'm expecting. And for that reason, I have to say, not going on my playlist. Well, that's it, boys. It was great getting together with y'all, and we'll see you next time on In Rotation Podcast.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.